say, well, basically look at it and say, this is realistic, and, you know, I'm going to say, well, my film is going to return, you know, 10 million with an investment of 100,000. How does an investor sort of determine, you know, what's more realistic?
I think the first question you have to ask him and figure out about the investor is it an investor that understands the film business, or is it somebody you're going to have to educate? Because the film business is unlike any other business on the planet. Do you agree?
So what we want to say is, you know, we're hoping that maybe...
Are there any investors here today?
Jim,
part of our goal is to educate investors. That's
maybe Jim's looking for the one who hasn't maybe Jim's looking for the one who hasn't invested, but let's say an educated investor, an experienced investor. You know, that's what we're hoping to find, because that's going to show that we have a good product, or filmmakers got a good product. So
again, they're going to ask, what's the business entity that I would be putting my money into? Do you have a CFO? Are you incorporated? Do you have a CFO? Somebody that understands how to work that money and put it in an escrow or some kind of account that continues to make money while you do, you know.
Sure, but how do you determine how much? Like, say I want 5 million or I want 100,000. How do you determine if that's a realistic amount? You know.
Well, that's what the investor determine, or the filmmaker themselves.
Well, the filmmaker's going to come with a budget and a business plan, and so how does an investor say whether or not this?
What should the investor?
What kind of due diligence?
Look, we deal with this all the time, right? I mean, the filmmaker comes up and says, "Okay, here's my script. I think it's going to cost X dollars to make it. This is above the line. This is below the line. If it's off, look, above the line is a different story. If it's below the line, you got to know what it costs to make a film." Right? I mean, there's not that much variability. How many days do you need to shoot? Do you need a crane? Do you need, you know, it's very cut and dry in terms of what it's going to cost you to shoot below the line. So you got to know that. Period.
Regionally, it's different regionally.
Yeah, well, you better know where you're shooting and what the incentives are. So you got to know, you know, you have to come with this is what's below the line. Then above the line, if you're coming to us, every actor in it's got to be working at 15% of his quote, and he'll get a piece of the back end. But we'll negotiate that. I don't care what the above the line says. I don't care what it says, because I know that's going to be negotiated somewhere else. But in all the dailies, all of the, you have to know exactly. You have to schedule it out day by day. What you're shooting, which scenes you're shooting each day, what it's going to cost you to shoot those scenes each day, and the budget better be about 100 pages.
The line item budget, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're dealing with the distributor, you look at the contracts, with all the back end, especially with all the distribution platforms increase a day, and you would be remiss as a filmmaker not to read every freaking word. Every word.
So the takeaway here is really the budget needs to be done properly, disciplined properly, and needs to be correct.
Okay, so you have to work your way up. The sub $5 million films will every once in a while, 1 in 1,000, make 10 times their money back. Okay, most of the time you're going to eke by maybe get their money back, but it's the critical acclaim. It's, did you produce a quality product on that budget? It's much harder to produce a quality product on a $500,000 budget than it is to produce a quality product on a $50 million budget. And that's the key. If you can prove yourself on a $500,000 budget, you'll get opportunities later.
And on that same line of thought, a quality film typically is not going to be the action genre with a lot of fighting, a lot of second unit work, a lot of choreography, a lot of car chases because you don't have the money. A lot of people don't understand that the top quality films that do that, they'll spend 2 weeks on one shot. You don't have that kind of time and money. So it should be story driven. It should be character and story driven because you can do that for a lot cheaper. And it's actually, for my money, you know, as a director and a producer and writer, I'd rather do that anyway.
And or cinematography.
And cinematographers are the key. You have the good shooter, somebody, a DP with a great eye. Knows how to light what you're talking about.
So it seems like, as filmmakers, we can't say anything besides zero is like the minimum return that you might get. And, I mean, is that true? I mean,
Yes.
It is. The short answer is yes.
One word answer.
okay.
But bear in mind that whatever due diligence the distributors and financiers and investors do on you, you have every right to do the same, with distributors. You need to find out what they're, and even still, here's a well-known distributor went belly up right when the film was getting ready to go into wide release, and it went nowhere. Now it went straight to DVD, and that's where they got stuck. But you have to do your due diligence, which means you have to take the time to understand the business more. There are books, there are people you can talk to, and to talk to, ask them questions and look at what they've done.
Most of them are public.
Yes.
They're publicly traded.
So all you have to do is publicly traded companies. Everything. All you got to do is get into various databases. You can find out what you can find out.
And that same director opened a movie on 9/8 or 9/13 or something, and it went belly up too because of just the timing. Nobody was filming movies.
Well, the problem is the P&A funds.
Does everybody know what P&A funds are? Prints and ads.
Prints and advertising. So it's literally the cost of creating a copy of the film to go into the theaters, and then what you pay to advertise it in every single market that you're going to open it in. P&A funds used to be really easy. I mean, literally 8% returns on print and advertising funds. Since the credit crunch a couple of years ago, there's been almost no external P&A funds. All of the P&A funds that we're tapping into today are actually studio funds. So Fox Searchlight is releasing one of our films, Black Swan, and they're putting up all the P&A for it, where they would usually go out to another P&A fund.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So if you don't have the P&A, you can't release.
And typically, in a larger budgeted film, P&A can be as much as 50% of the production budget,
Or 100%.
or 100%, depending on how many markets you're going. If you're opening up in 4,000 theaters worldwide, you need 4,000 prints, and they just don't mail them, right? Oh, I don't know. They just don't mail them. Yeah, really. They don't just mail these. It costs.
Look better in dark light.
And they courier them. They courier them. It's not. They don't just send them out by because these are precious things. I mean, these are it can be easily stolen. So you have to have. It's very expensive to fly them in your hand, take them out to whatever the cinema chain is that did.